One of the keys to the Kings' success has been the strong play of their bench. In fact, some of the reserves are just as popular as the starters. They even have a nickname, the Bench Mob. And the leader of the mob is one of the biggest fan favorites, John Barry. He's found a home here in Sacramento, but for John, it was a long journey before he finally arrived.
A funny story that my dad tells me was when I was a ball boy, he took me, I got to go on like 2 road trips a year. And he took me to Phoenix one year. And he said it was halftime. And he was in the locker room and he came out and the crowd was going wild. So he just assumed that it was like a great halftime show. And he walks around the corner and he sees me. I'm out there at the 3-point line. I'm like 5 years old, just firing them up and making them. I made like 5 or 6 in a row and the place was going nuts.
He grew up the son of Basketball Hall of Famer Rick Barry. But John would find out from an early age that having a famous father had its drawbacks.
I don't remember seeing my dad all that often as a kid. And the only time I remember spending in the summers is his basketball camp that he'd have for about 2 weeks every year. And that was really the most quality time that we got, and he was always doing stuff.
During his career, Rick Barry was consumed by basketball. For years, he jumped from team to team and league to league, constantly in search of fulfillment. John would inherit his father's passion for the game and, ironically, his wandering ways. His own basketball journey began in 1991 when he was the #1 draft pick of the Boston Celtics.
The first year was basically a wash. I missed the first 2 months of the season and got traded to Milwaukee. I had 2 years in Milwaukee and never got an opportunity. From then on, it was 1-year contracts. 1 year in Golden State, 1 year in Atlanta, 1 year with the Lakers.
You could be cut at any day, so you just don't know. And I'm in a hotel. I have my wife and kids. I'm not going to have them out there, and so I'm away from them. And it's like you're on the road every night. There's not a home. It's not home.
He didn't see himself as successful, even though he'd made it to the highest level that you can get to. And that's all he thought about. And so I think he thought of himself as a failure.
In 1998, John was once again without a team of his own. But then the Sacramento Kings called and offered him a tryout.
I had my son and my wife, and I didn't know if I wanted to leave. I remember
it was a scary moment.
Getting on that plane.
He called me when he got to the airport before he even went to the first practice. And he was down because there were guys on the airplane with him that he didn't know were coming into camp, that were his position.
When I got there, there were 7 2 guards for 2 spots. I didn't know if I wanted to play anymore. I was tired of it. I was thinking about turning around and going back.
Barry's career had reached a crossroads.
I looked at everybody else that, this guy's not playing me, he's not playing me, this guy shouldn't be playing. And, finally, I took a look at myself and just said, well, what can you do to make a difference? What can you do to show that you belong?
Instead of focusing on showcasing his skills, John simply set about making Sacramento his home.
John Barry is trying to get the crowd fired up. Way to go, JB.
And he made an immediate connection with the city's frenzied fans.
With a pump fist, he comes running down the floor, exhorting the crowd, and 17,000 at Arco respond to his challenge.
John Barry brings this place to life. He's like the Pope. he lifts his arms and everybody answers.
And when he did get a chance to show what he could do, John was ready.
Ball swung around right corner, Barry blows by the defense to the hoop, reverse shot, good! What a play by JB!
John Barry is a player that, and this is a compliment, but if I didn't play on this team, I wouldn't like him. And I say that because of how hard he works. I say that because of how much he wants our team to win. Those are guys I think are the most valuable to their teams.
Barry knocked it away, dives forward. Oh, what a play by John Barry. How many times do you see that?
He hasn't become a star like his dad, but he's won over his teammates with the passion of his play.
Hey, good job, JB! Good job, baby!
I look at John now, I see a very comfortable guy in who he is. I think he's learned in watching his dad that he wants to be John Barry. That's who he is now. He doesn't need to try to emulate his father or try to match that. the maturity is there now that wasn't there before.
They're making my jersey. You know, people were buying my jersey in Sacramento. I have my own radio show out there. I get Barry chants. I would have never thought it could have happened to me.
And now, a player who once seemed to have reached the end of the line feels as though he's arrived at his final stop.
I'm glad it ended up in Sacramento. You know, it turned out an hour and a half from where I grew up as a kid, and I couldn't imagine being any better than that.
Think to myself, what a wonderful world.